Hi, ladies.
Hi,
Hi.
so nice to meet you. I remember when CherryPicks started.
Oh, you do. Yeah,
Mhm.
CherryPicks is really doing some great things, and I love reporting for them. Um,
Great.
when I watched She Said, I couldn't help but walking away feeling like you guys are like the Woodward and Bernstein of the feminist movement.
Oh,
And so having said that, being in that place, did you see it coming as women, as mothers, as journalists, that now being on the other side of this, how this story would inspire the truth after chasing the truth, how it would inspire and inform other women journalists?
Listen, I think that our hope is that this film is going to prove informative on a variety of levels. I mean, I think that our hope is that it's going to be. We see this as a love letter to journalism and to the power of the truth. I think, especially today, when it can feel like the very notion of truth is collapsing sometimes, to watch a movie in which actually a very small number of women of brave sources were prepared to step forward and speak the truth about what had happened to them. With a lot of, with a lot of sort of potential damage to themselves in the process. I think for viewers to see that and to see what a huge difference they made, that by speaking out, they did in fact help ignite this Me Too movement and help it spread around the world. I think that's going to be extremely informative to viewers. We think that this brings you into the actual New York Times newsroom and to the conference rooms, the little cubicles, the cafeteria where we work, and also shows like the incredible due diligence that we do before we publish a story like this. I think that's going to be informative for viewers. And then I think finally, when you talk about not just seeing journalists, but seeing working mothers, working parents, I think there are going to be a lot of women who identify with what it's like to be kind of trying to execute your job and make sure that you get home to put the kids to bed. I think, women around the world do that every day, and yet so rarely is it depicted back to them on the big screen. So we're hoping that it will also prove informative and inspiring for viewers on that front.
But what about the young journalists that are out there? Because I'm going to tell you, as a journalist, I was so excited to see this story on the screen because, like you said, we don't see women portrayed as mothers and as just as human beings that are navigating life with a job. And people always act like it's such a miracle that you have a job and you're a mom. I'm like, wasn't your mama working? Didn't your mother have a job? Like, I don't understand. It's so hilarious. Um, why do you think that one sentence that you spoke um, encouraged women to go on record with their stories? Because I'm going to tell you, I've been that person that was Me Too, and I can tell you straight up that it's a situation that you feel like you have no power. You feel like your voice is being taken away. You feel like no matter what you say, no matter what you do, it's always going to somehow flip back on you as to why did you do this? Why did you do that? As opposed to flipping back to the person who committed, the injustice.
so for me, working with the sources you see depicted in this film, whether it was Laura Madden or Zelda Perkins or Ashley Judd, I felt that my job was to build their confidence in telling the truth. And I had to respect their fears, the kind you're talking about, and I had to respect the boundaries of what they were or will or wouldn't, of what they ultimately were willing or not willing to do. But what I was trying to do, and the film shows you a snippet of this, but really the conversations were much longer. They took place over weeks and months. I was trying to get them to believe. I couldn't promise an outcome. We didn't know what was going to happen with this story, but I wanted them to feel that these personal stories of theirs really mattered. And I also wanted them to have confidence in us and that Megan and I were building a solid platform for them to stand on. So I would talk about all of the other information we were gathering. Of course, there were certain things I couldn't divulge. But for example, when I went to Ashley Judd and I said to her, listen, no other actress is willing to do this. I know we had wanted to surround you with a group, but we need to ask you to do it alone. The argument I was able to make to her was, Megan and I have spent months building a solid platform for you to stand on. We've got the legal and financial records. We've got company memos describing a culture of harassment. We've got other Miramax employees on the record saying this is a huge problem. We've got 25 years worth of allegations, incidents that took place at the Peninsula Hotel in Beverly Hills in 1995, and some that took place alleged incidents that took place in 2015. So what we were saying to Ashley essentially is, this is not going to be a he said, she said story. We've done months of checking and investigation, and there's a lot of evidence here to back up the idea that this was a real pattern and this was a real problem. And so it's really hard, and it's still hard. I mean, all these years after us having broken the story, asking a woman to go on the record involves exactly the kinds of issues that you brought up. But the goal in this investigation was to make the women feel less alone than the aloneness you just described in that moment.
I'm so glad that you guys wrote that book. I'm so glad that you won a Pulitzer Prize for it. And I'm so glad that it has now been brought to the screen for people to see it in perpetuity globally for the rest of our existence on this earth. It's an important story that needs to be told. I love that your editor was a woman and that she championed you guys as two female reporters in one of the largest newsrooms in the world. I just love everything about the story. And I'm so out of time, but I wanted to tell you that before I finish this interview. And I wanted to thank you for speaking to me on behalf of the Cherry Picks.
Oh, thank you so much. That means a lot to us.
It really does.